It's Mike. Welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Okay, I've gone up to 7.9 now. Let's go back and take a look at last night. Last night, for most of the night, I was up quite high. This green shaded area is where we normally want to be, but yet I was up out of that. For some reason, I was skyrocketing. So it was kind of a rebound, but I was dead to the world asleep, which is a good thing. Not dead because of diabetes, but I was dead to the world. Just being tired. Didn't sleep well the night before, so I was slept, and oh, it felt so good. But I was high, and when I'm high, you seem to sleep better. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I noticed. Today, we're going to discuss changes in over 50 years of type 1 diabetes training, care, probably a better way. And there has been, thinking back, when I was preparing for this video, I thought, how could I present this? Well, let's take a look this way. First of all, we're going to discuss what it was like in 1977 and where I am now. It roughly will be 50 years. It's going to be this October will be 48 years of type 1 diabetes for myself and living with it. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, October 7th, 1977, the day that will change my life. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Back then, it was called juvenile diabetes because more kids got it. And type 2 was called adult. Well, now there's more kids getting type 2 than there was before. Type 1s are being more discovered in adults as well, so that terminology didn't really fit. But type 1 diabetes. When I went into the hospital for the first time, I was introduced to urine testing. That was the only way they were going to be able to tell how my blood sugar was. I had to take a shot, and the hospital had new, exciting disposable needles. They had just started using about 5 years beforehand. But people at home we're still sort of expected to be using glass syringes. I never had to. But in my training, I was trained how to sterilize the glass needles, how to sharpen the needles so they were really sharp, and I never used it. We went to the drugstore after being released from the hospital, took my prescription, and the doctor said, "Oh yeah, we could get you this glass case, but we have this disposable needles that are really great and you can utilize them." They were called monojet. And I used them. I can remember they were yellow in color. You had plastic tubing. You utilized it, you put it back, and then you broke them. That was the way we did, and then we just threw it in our regular garbage. That changed also later in life, but we'll move it along. I was on one shot a day, and at that time, well, one shot a day, you were diabetic. They really didn't kind of think about that till a couple of years later when I went to 2 shots a day. And I kind of remember asking the doctor I was seeing at the time, is my diabetes getting bad? And he said, no, we found we can gain better control for you. But we were still urine testing. At that point, I always said, oh yes, I'm doing urine testing. But I was having problems, ended up in the hospital, and they never asked to see my urine testing. But it was something I got into trouble with a doctor over my urine testing results. I had had diabetes, I think, for 2 years. Anyway, I'd been keeping scraps of paper with all my urine testing results. I got a new typewriter. I thought I'd type them all up and put them on this sheet, and I thought, hey, this was going to be great. But it didn't really bode well. My urine results were all over the map. My doctor, I took this nicely typed out form. I took this to my doctor. I was really proud of it. And he kind of, you're just writing down numbers. You're not doing the urine testing. Except I was. I was still a new diabetic. I was still doing things. And that was sort of the last response. I didn't go see that doctor ever again because I knew I was doing my best. And I kind of went just day to day. I had my insulin. I was doing it. I'd run into problems, end up in the hospital. But I got on to 2 shots a day and things went well. I went to diabetic camps, which they still have to this day. I never told my parents this, but the diabetic camp, I hated it, but it was also the best time of my life. But I wasn't good. I didn't want to go. My life at home had changed so much, and I was going to have to live, and I didn't want to I wanted to get things situated, but here they were sending me away to school or to diabetic camp. And I didn't really want to let myself have the fun I was having. Okay. I also, as time progressed, getting back to the urine testing, they said, well, now you have to do 2 voids. You have to empty your bladder fully, and then you have to wait 15 to 20 minutes, and then you have to go and try to go again. At school life, this did not work. You only got an hour for lunch. You have to wait until you were able to do your urine test before you could eat. And you do one, and then you were in a bathroom doing your urine test. People were wondering what you were doing. It was all a mess. When I was in grade 11, they brought out glucometer testing. It was a big thing. And it was always sort of, well, you can test your blood sugar whenever you like. And so I took that. I didn't take 4 times a day to represent breakfast, lunch, dinner, and bed. I would do it now and again. I used it as my science fair project during an open house and did quite a lot that way. I used my supplies during that fair, so anyway. It wasn't till I got out, I was in the hospital again. I've been in the hospital a lot over the last 50 years. Got testing. The doctor who I was seeing in the hospital said, well, do you have a glucometer? I said no. And somehow I got tied into a sales rep who got me, it was a lot smaller, compact little glucometer, which I loved. It kind of had a little cover, put it in, did a blood test. I used that for a few years. Urine testing was something that went by the wayside. We do urine testing now when we're kind of sick, and if we're having higher blood sugars, we want to make sure we have the blood sugar results. And now we're utilizing our blood sugars. We now have in-home ketone testing, which you can get a machine that will tell that. I'm thinking now they're utilizing a pump type thing. One model will be doing 24-hour urine ketone testing. That may be something we all will need, but I've come from the dark ages. I've made it through the Renaissance, so we're now in modern times of diabetic care. The best diabetic care is still off in the future, and that is total cure. But we'll wait and see. So with that, have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. I know. My email address is Mike's Diabetes World at gmail.com. All one line. Drop me